The beloved community, though, it is rooted in nonviolence. And so we're going to get really concrete now around what are the principles that are really the foundation for beloved community, and what do we need to cultivate within ourselves in order to embody those principles. And so nonviolence is not the absence of violence. So often, we make the distinction in the work of, nonviolent movements, the difference between non-violence and nonviolence as one word. So non-violence is the absence of violence, but nonviolence as one word is actively working towards peace in every moment. And so the beloved community acknowledges that conflict is normal. So I coach primarily principals and assistant principals in something called the ESCI, the Emotional Social Competence Inventory. And undoubtedly, every time they get this report, and it's a 360 where they get 12 people to rate them, and undoubtedly every single report comes back and the lowest rating for every leader I've worked with is conflict management. And I think part of that is because we haven't normalized conflict in the way that we have to. And the beloved community does that right from the start. It acknowledges conflict as normal. But conflict is seen as an opportunity for deeper relationships. So rather than, ooh, I'm feeling some tension, I'm going to stay away from this person, we cultivate our inner capacity to actually see that tension as an opportunity for growth. There's a beautiful quote around how conflict is the spirit of the relationship asking to deepen. So conflict is a gateway to understanding and connection. And obviously we've seen, a lot of great work in the field of restorative practices that has really supported us in welcoming conflict and seeing it as an opportunity rather than an impediment. But peace and nonviolence really guide us through kind of these relational nuances. So again, this is deep work. I mentioned earlier, this is like what I think is transformative SEL 2.0, 3.0 here. And we have to really believe in our own capacity to transform tension into stepping stones for harmony. So here we see this visual around different ways we can respond to conflict. So I want this to be interactive. And in a moment, we're gonna really be pausing as we go through the principles of nonviolence, but just take this in and see if you can identify a recent conflict. Maybe choose one where there was like mild tension, not major tension in this moment. And just think about your response. And this is internal. You're not going to write anything in the chat. This is confidential to you. But just think about how you responded. Did you avoid? Did you diffuse? Did you confront? And if you did confront, was it confronted violently and non-violent? And again, this is like, this isn't just like an intense conflict. I'm thinking yesterday with my son who is 6, and like I could have been a little more nonviolent. He was having some attitude with me, and like, boy, this programming is so deep, isn't it? That programming, this kind of, I'm the adult, you're the child. I said, listen to me, and I'm just in this moment. I'm like, ooh, yeah, this is hard work, because what's modeled for us is mostly violence. And again, I'm not talking about extreme violence, right? But for the most part, a lot of us, particularly if there is a relationship where there is a power dynamic, which there is with my son, right? Sometimes things can get, a little less decide together problem solving. And obviously parenting is so nuanced, right? You have to also have boundaries and limits, and that's a whole separate training around nonviolence and parenting. But just take this in to just help us understand more deeply just the different ways in which we respond to conflict.